Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to episode 62 of the podcast. Super excited to be here today. Thank you guys so much for dialing and getting back in the saddle, whether you're dialing in from Skokie, Illinois' finest deli, maybe a local park, maybe you're on the 405 taking the subway to class. Either way, thank you guys so much for tuning in, being a part of your daily schedule, weekly schedule. Means a lot. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Got another update video, podcast for you. I don't know why. I got nothing more to say than the theme for this one is like back in the saddle. You know, you guys know that we kind of went out of commission for about a week or so, but try to keep things running. But it was almost like a kind of a week off, although not really a week off. But it's good to be back up and running. It just felt like we, even though I was out of commission, it felt like a week off, and you come back, and the best way I can equate it is like when you come back from a con, like a PAX or something like that. You just come back re-energized with a lot of new ideas, and you're just kind of ready to get back to work, and that's exactly how I feel. And I don't want to say more than normal, because that's not really a fair thing, but I just feel very grateful for the opportunity to be able to do this. And I think I might have said it once or twice this past week during the show. But just to be able to kind of take a half step back and look at everything after being out for a week, and just, how far things have come, and how much, I guess the best way I could say is joy I get from being able to do this and be a part of the community. And an example of that, on this past Saturday, I had some free time. I did an impromptu stream, played Tetris 99, which is a whole nother story we're going to get into, for like almost double length show, and there were a lot of people there hanging out, enjoying it. I think it's a combination of things. I try not to look too much into why there would be so many people watching a specific show. I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, none of which are, I would say, necessarily in my control. So that's why I don't worry about it. But it was just a really fun stream. We're chasing the first Tetris 99 victory, but we'll talk about that in a second. The past week's been a good week of shows. Some things I gotta correct a little bit, but really, I think it centers around one thing. And it's kind of it just recently hit me when I was writing the show notes for today. Whenever I do a podcast, I'll pull up Evernote. It's a free program. You can get it on your phone or on your desktop. It basically allows you to write notes and sync them between your phone and your desktop. It's really useful. I use it the only thing I really use it for, though, is the podcast and writing notes, but it works for me, and it's kind of the routine into what I get into running a podcast. But it kind of hit me that Tetris 99, in case you're unfamiliar with what it is, it's Tetris, but you play against 99 other players, and you eliminate other players. So at the end of every game, it's a Tetris battle royale. There's only one player left standing. It's very simple. It's difficult, but very well done. It's honestly, it's one of my favorite games I played in 2019. But we've played 698 games, over 35 hours into the game, and we haven't won one yet. And so what I wanted to say is, it's just kind of hit me that Tetris 99 has a Dark Souls feel to me in regards to the desire and the challenge to keep wanting to come back and to beat a boss that is really, I don't want to say above your pay grade, that's not the answer, but to really kind of min-max and find out where you fall short and just get a little bit better each time. Like, a couple Dark Souls bosses come to mind, but I'd say first and foremost, Manus is like you put so much effort into the challenge of beating something. It becomes like a priority. It becomes, I don't want to say addiction, because that's not it, but that's the draw for me, is that it's so difficult, kind of like Mario Maker. It's so difficult, but you see little increments of progress. And I think, without, I don't want to speak out of line, but taking a bit from the community, I think people enjoy watching that as well. I think the community enjoys watching that. Like, you get a little bit better. You stay positive. We've gotten second place a handful of times, but it's not the rare victory, and it's really difficult. But it's really, I was trying to think about, why do I like the game so much, and I think it's just a challenge. It's a legit, very difficult but very fair challenge, which is reminiscent of Dark Souls. And one of the problems that it's caused in the past week is that it's really my number one thing that I hate to do when it comes to streaming, which is I'll set a platter or a schedule. Hey, we're going to play, for example, Friday, we're going to play Escape from Tarkov and then Life is Strange Chapter 2. And I ended up playing a little bit of Tetris because we got done with Tarkov a little bit early, and then it threw the entire schedule off, meaning that we didn't end up playing Life is Strange. And for multiple reasons, I know that is not a good thing to do. Number one, it sets an expectation in the community. It's like, hey, here's the plan, here's what we're going to play. And then it doesn't happen. So I think what it does one of the things I don't like to do, which is disappoint people, versus just saying, hey, we're going to play Tetris from the beginning. But I don't know, it's like one of those things where the challenge has become so great and I'm so invested in the challenge. I need to be more self-aware that game has the ability to do that. And it goes back to how I treat things. I treat things like a show. I treat it like a television network. And going back to that, it's like, hey, you're not planning on watching Lost and all of a sudden Everybody Loves Raymond just takes over the show. I'm not equating what we do to a widely produced, Lost or whatever, but in the same way, that's kind of how I approach it. And I know it can be disappointing to people. And so I think I just got to maybe put a little bit more thought into setting the platter. Because this past week, there was a little bit of one of the things last week when we were sick, I talked about it, but playing a game that didn't require as much sauce or as much, dexterity, if you will, like a game like Life is Strange, the story-based game, and it was perfect for that week. But anytime I start a game on Twitch, I feel like a little bit all internal, and it's all good. Internal pressure to finish it, even though it doesn't feel like the right time. And that's kind of how I felt with Life is Strange. Is like I do want to finish it, but it's one of those games where it's like can be played at any time versus finishing it consecutively, in my opinion. And so that's one of the things that, I go back and forth with a lot. Outside of this week, starting with Tuesday, it was another good thing. We hit every video this week, and having some time off. We talked about a little bit last week, but it allowed me to take a step back and reassess what's going on. What do I know I can meet, and what do I know puts a lot of extra heat on me in terms of trying to get too much done. And so what it came up with is having Tetris videos out every Tuesday and Thursday, and everything else on the channel every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern is Mario Maker. And right now that's working, and having a lot of fun with it, mixing up the Mario content. It's a fun game. I think I get a lot of messages. I've gotten some messages about, hey, me and my daughter enjoy watching it, every day, or I enjoy watching when I get home from work. And that's cool. I always like hearing the context of how people watch it, because it makes it a little bit more real. And I think at some point we might have talked about this before, is that when you put out videos, in particular, not like live streaming is different. When we put out videos, sometimes it's like it's out, it just kind of goes out into the void. And I interact in the comments, and it's a small, I don't want to say small number, but it's not a proportionate number of people that watch it, which is fine. But I don't know, it's different. I think it would be really interesting as someone who makes videos to be able to see people watch in their natural environment, because I just don't have a context of that. I don't know. I guess if I looked at the analytics and things I could, but it'll tell you what country and things like that, just where people watch from. But it just makes it a little bit more real, which is cool. It's at some point you do this work and it's fun and you truly enjoy it. And the feedback loop is really, really, to me, it's important because it's a guidance for me. It's something I take seriously, but also not super serious. Is that, I don't know, I just really enjoy the one-on-one interactions and things like that, which kind of leads me into my next thing, which I don't want to say, not shut something down, that's not the right answer, but I don't know, I think I may have taken something the wrong way in Twitch chat this past week during one of the shows, but you guys have heard me talk about how we can text and stuff. If you text me at 313-509-1979. Some of you guys have texted me, which I really appreciate, and it's fun to be able to dial in and talk with you on a one-on-one basis. But I was talking about it during the live show, and someone's like, hey, Dan, that's just another marketing scheme. It's not your real phone number. It's just a robot. Something along those lines. And I kind of took it a little personal, because to me that's using the assumption. It's the assumption of how I would treat the community, and that's not it at all. whenever I do something like that, kind of like Twitch, if I miss a day, or if we do a bounty or we do a sponsored hour, I always like to add on. And to me, when I started with the phone number and texting, I'm always thinking about how can I make it more valuable to you than it is to me, right? And to me, there's like intrinsic selfish value of being able to talk to people one-on-one. In addition to that, I think about that all the time. It's like, okay, so now that I'm doing this, how can I make it worth people's while, even above and beyond? One of the cool things that, at some point it'll happen, one of the ancillary benefits of texting me is that, for example, if I'm in Skokie, Illinois, I can send a text message to people in that area and be like, hey, we're going to Bob's Burgers, meet us there, and we'll have a meetup or something like that. Like, that's something cool, but that's not enough yet. For me, and it's something I'm messing around with and something to think about. But to me, I don't know. I think I'm pretty forthright about why I do things and how I do them, and it's rarely, if ever, I'm not trying to squeeze the community like that. It's just not. I'm in this for such a long term. I'm always thinking about, hey, what can I do that would be cool that people would enjoy? What would I want to have the opportunity to do in the same situation? And that's where I always look to feedback. Like, I think there's a lot of things that I don't realize that people would like or enjoy that I don't do, just because I don't think of it. So that's where the feedback comes in important. But for whatever reason, that comment in Twitch chat, and the person, I was really frank about how I answered it live, same way I'm here, and the person responded really well. And I think that's indicative of the community. It's just that, I don't know, if there's something that's off, I'll tell you guys. There's been plenty of things that happen that felt weird after we did it, and I said, hey, this will probably not happen again. And one of which was, just off the top of my head, the Dark Souls randomizer thing. I think it was a cool concept, but it ended up feeling weird doing it, so I don't do it again. And not everything, and sometimes you listen to your gut on the front end, and sometimes you try things and it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. But for me, it's always just important to be transparent with the community, because that's what, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And I don't know, it's just something that stuck out in my head this past week, and it was almost like the default was, hey, you're doing this for ulterior motives, and I'm not. Are there certain benefits or things that could happen as a result of being able to text on my end? Yeah, but my goal is to always, like I said, make it more for you than it is for me. So if you haven't already texted, and one of the funny things that happened right when I rolled it out really kind of strong on Twitter is when we went out of commission. So I'm still catching up on texts and things like that. But if you would like to, it's 313-509-1979. You know what? If you're listening, tell me where you listen to the podcast at. Like on your way to work, wherever. The more detail, the better. I don't know. Being able to have that picture painted means a lot to me. So it's 313-509-1979. And also, if there's something that you could think of cool that you would like from that as like a surprise, let me know as well. Outside of that, this past week, it was good to be back with Team Unity, myself, Ryan, Gary, Austin, and Michael A. Fox. A little bit of a pivot. We played some Borderlands 3, and I think it's a fun game. And I something happened during it. I simply, I don't like to talk a lot about the backwire stuff, because some stuff when you do with groups, they keep private. But I sent a message that said, hey, you guys want to play PUBG? This is about halfway. We're probably about 2 hours into Borderlands 3, and I could have played Borderlands 3 the whole time. It's lost a little bit of its luster, but it's fun. And I think we'll have fun finishing it. But I don't know. Sometimes you just kind of get a feel, and everyone. It wasn't like, hey, I don't want to play Borderlands 3. Just like, hey, does anyone want to switch up and play PUBG? And we end up playing it, and it's fun. I think we have such a unique dynamic where I believe, for the most part, I think the show Team Unity, it's a good balance of when we can play kind of story games, but I think kind of the best of the best, in my opinion, comes out we're in a competitive setting. I think the personalities are so different. There's like there's a variable involved that is, a competitive variable outside of us as a group that I think it makes it fun and can create some stressful situations where I think ultimately either turn really goofy that can be surprising and we dial in, or somewhere in between. So that was kind of a unique thing, but it was unique in the fact that I think everyone, at least in the group, took it as like it wasn't, like it was kind of like something that was said that everyone was kind of like, yeah, that seems like a good idea. But yeah, outside of that, things have been going really well. One of the other things that have happened social media wise that I've been, prior to the past week, was really doing a really good job of staying on top of Instagram and stories and having a plan with that, but really went dark with it in the past 2 weeks. I haven't posted much at all. And I think in terms of continuing to do this, everything long term, I think it's pretty important. Both on Instagram and TikTok. One of the things I haven't consumed a ton of TikTok, but I think I know there's something there that I need to be doing, and I think it will allow me to be way more creative in terms of how you do things. And anytime a new platform comes up, you kind of, in my opinion, you have to learn the language. And right now I don't know enough about TikTok. I haven't watched it enough to learn the language. Like there's a language to Twitch, there's a language to YouTube, there's a language to Twitter. And I'm really looking forward to it, because I feel like even if you haven't heard of TikTok, it's like, to me, it's like almost like the second coming of Vine, but with more depth, I want to say, with more, I don't want to say longevity, but it seems like it's going to have more legs in it. And it's one of those things where it's like, hey, Dan, and I don't like to use the word should, but it's something I need to be doing, because I think that it's kind of like the wild west right now. I think anytime, and it's in anything, it could be in business, it could be in social media, whatever, whenever you're one of the early adopters, and it's starting to even get beyond that point, but you get a little bit of extra sauce by being there early. And really, you know what, and not even just talking about this, I'm gonna put some heat on myself and put focus on to come up with a couple creative ideas on TikTok. And I'm not going to, tell you yet until it's done. But that's going to be a focus of this next week. With that being said, I think outside of that, it's just been a good week to get back into work and to get things rolling again. Another thing that's in the back of my mind, and it's getting closer, we've talked about it a lot in Twitch, is that with the Escape from Tarkov 0.12 is coming very, very soon. There's a couple kind of like end game events they have going on, and I think, anytime there's a wipe in Tarkov, it's just a really, really exciting time to play the game. If you have never played Tarkov and you've been waiting, in the next week or so, whenever they do their next update, it's going to be a really, really good time, because it starts everyone at square zero. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, hey, there's like, it's going to, I don't want to say revitalize, because that's not the right word, but it's going to be a really fun time to play the game, because everything kind of resets. On top of that, it's like the age-old problem. Mario Maker is a lot of fun. Tetris is a lot of fun. But I think I want to call there's like we're getting close to a new piece of meat game. And I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that it's going to be Bloodborne, but just finding the right time to do it. And do it in the right fashion, because I don't know. I one of the websites I always use is called How Long to Beat, and I haven't checked it lately in terms of Bloodborne, but I gotta guess it's somewhere around 30 to 40 hours. And I think, in my opinion, playing those meat games, those Souls games, are part of what makes the show kind of balanced and special and unique. And we've gotten a little bit away from that. Even though to me there is an element of Dark Souls, both in Mario Maker and in Tetris 99, which I think is why it fits. But I'm excited to get back. But I think we're just going to do it in a unique way and build some hype around that. Because I think, I've been polling the chat whenever I think about kind of getting it started and moving closer. The numbers, I always poll the live audience in Twitch, and the numbers have been around like 57 to 62% of people are ready for it. So I think like in terms of gauging starting a long game like that on the show, I think it's getting closer, but it's not like the scorching hot, like Daniel, you have to play this. So I think I don't want to say as I draw it out, because that's not the intention, but as we wait a little bit longer, I think it will we'll continue to get there, and I'm excited to try it out. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. Please text me 313-509-1979. Let me know where you listened to this episode at. It would mean a lot to me. It's kind of like the void thing we talked about with YouTube. Same thing with a podcast. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. I look forward to seeing you next week. Hope you enjoy a week of minis. If you're dialing in to Twitch, our live stream, twitch.tv/DaneGheesling, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you guys there. Thank you guys so much, and have a great week.